You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to my first ever New York Yankees show. I did this for the Islanders. I did this for the Nets. I was going to do this for the Yankees in March, April, May, and June, but the coronavirus was a thing, so I had to wait until July 27th to do a show wholly dedicated to my favorite team. And look, they took 2 out of 3 from the defending World Series champions. You're not going to sweep them. I mean, it is important to understand why they didn't sweep them, and that was the absolutely terrible performance of James Paxton. Couldn't even get out of the second inning. He got the loss. He has a 27 ERA and a 6 whip. I mean, he looked terrible on Saturday. And I don't want to read too much into it. It's just one start. But the Yankees are going to need Paxton to be the pitcher that they think he can be if they're going to make a big run this year. Realize, no Severino. Paxton's their 2 starter. It's not Tanaka. Their rotation is undoubtedly their biggest question mark. We know what we're going to get from Cole as Yankee fans. Alright, he's going to pitch great. He's going to be a Cy Young contender. No complaints there. Paxton is an issue. The Yankees need him to be really, really good. It's just that simple. Go through the rotation. Cole, Paxton, Tanaka, Happ, Montgomery. Tanaka, God only knows how he's going to come back from the concussion. Happ is useless. Montgomery's good, but he's not great. He's a solid 4th starter. Maybe 3rd, if I'm being generous. Maybe 3rd. The thing I don't like about Montgomery is that he doesn't have a strikeout pitch. He pitches to contact a lot. You can get burned that way. See, the thing with Paxton is, when he's on, he's unhittable. When he's off, he's absolutely terrible. There are some Yankee fans that have called him A.J. Burnett 2.0. He's not. He's just a much better Michael Pineda. Pineda with the Yankees had one start where he looked great, and then the next start, he'd get shellacked. That's Paxton. I understand it's just one start. And I don't want to kill him. Maybe his next start, he goes out there and pitches 6 innings of great baseball. Super. Fantastic. But the Yankees really need Paxton to be their number 2 starter. If he is not their number 2 starter, the Yankees are in deep trouble. They're not going to be able to outslug teams every game. And how about that Nationals bullpen? It's amazing how one day you can be great out of the bullpen and the next day you're terrible. As a Mets fan, you saw it with Edwin Diaz. He gets the save on Friday. He's 1 strike away from getting the save on Saturday, and Marcell Ozuna takes him deep. The Nationals had something like that. On Saturday, their bullpen pitched 5 innings of shutout baseball. Tanner Rainey, Ryan Harper, James Bourque, and Kyle Finnegan all looked great. Then Sunday hits, and the Nationals bullpen wastes away a great performance by Patrick Corbin. Now, I don't know why Corbin was pulled. I know he had just given up the home run to Torres, but that was only his second hit. He was dealing. He had 8 strikeouts. He had only thrown 75 pitches. Maybe that was his limit, but I don't know. They turn the game over to Will Harris, and Harris ends up giving up the big home run to Voit to tie the game. And then in the 8th inning, when Doolittle comes in, he gives the Yankees the lead. They manufacture a run, and that was all they needed. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm happy as a Yankee fan. But that was a boneheaded decision by Dave Martinez. That's why they won that game. If Corbin is allowed to pitch the rest of the 7th inning, I'm not so sure the Yankees come back. Maybe they would have, but I don't know. Going back to Paxton for a minute, just to go back to my when he's on, he's unhittable, and when he's off, he gets shellacked point. If you watched that game Saturday, I hope you noticed that Paxton was getting nothing on his fastball. His fastball was dreadful. It was in the low 90s. It was hovering around like 91, 92. Maybe 93, if he was lucky. See, when he's on, that fastball can get up to 95, 96. But realize, it's a 4-seam fastball. It's not going to have a lot of movement. Maybe you can get some, but Paxton has a tendency to try to blow hitters away. Now, you can do that with 95, 96, and if you locate it well, but Paxton had no velocity. He wasn't locating his pitches. It was a terrible performance. Again, I'll repeat myself. The Yankees need Paxton to be their second starter, or at least worthy of being the second starter, if they're going to make a run this year. There's no way around it. But now going to the positives, Giancarlo Stanton has been great. Through 3 games, he's leading the Yankees in average, home runs, and RBIs. I mean, both of his home runs were really, really meaningful. Obviously, he hit the first home run of the 2020 season to give the Yankees the lead. And then on Saturday, he hit a home run to make it 3-2 Nationals. Now, that was all the offense that the Yankees would get, but still, it was a meaningful home run. I like Stanton a lot. I don't understand all the people that hate him. If you're a fan of another team, I get it. He's another guy who the Yankees traded for as a superstar on a big contract that his incumbent team couldn't afford. I get why you would hate that. But as a Yankee fan, go back and think of the timeline. 2018, he was their best hitter. 2019, he got hurt. Yes, I understand he underperformed in the playoffs. I get that. But so did a lot of players. In 2018 and 2019, you can't just single out Stanton. I understand that when you have that contract, you're expected to perform. But it's not fair to just single him out because of that contract. Get on everyone else. I'd say that there being no fans in the stands would help Stanton because he wouldn't hear the boo birds. But Stanton just doesn't let that bother him. He's actually perfect for New York. He says all the right things. He does all the right things. He avoids the gossip section of the newspaper. I mean, I remember the first game he ever played as a Yankee. It was at home. He went 0 for 5. He was getting booed like crazy. And he said afterwards something to the effect of, yeah, I'd have booed me too if I was a Yankee fan. And then he hit a home run his second game. I mean, what more do you want from him? No one bats 1,000. Yes, he doesn't have the signature moment. Yes, his playoff performance has been dreadful. But stick with him. I don't think we're going to have another Jacoby Ellsbury situation here. I think Stanton is going to be productive for a long, long, long time. Some other hitters who caught my eye, Gleyber Torres hitting 300. I mean, we talk about the great young players of the game, and it's guys like Juan Soto and Ronald Acuna and Pete Alonso. Torres deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as them. This guy is insane. The thing with guys like Judge and Stanton and Sanchez is that they have a tendency to be feast or famine sometimes. If it's a runner in scoring position, they're going to look to hit it out. They're not going to look to hit a single to drive the runner in. They want to drive themselves in. I'm not saying they're selfish. I'm just saying they get homer happy. Torres, while he has power, that's undeniable. He led the Yankees in home runs last year with 38. But he also hits for contact. He hit .278 last year. Higher than Judge. Higher than Voit. He is such an integral part of this lineup. He's going to be a superstar for years and years to come. And he just doesn't get talked about. It's insane. He's an underrated New York Yankee. I didn't even think that was possible. DJ LeMahieu seems to have fully recovered from the coronavirus. So, good for him. I mean, LeMahieu's a guy who you can always count on to drive a runner in. It's incredible. Bases loaded last year, he hit .667. 2 strike counts over 300. Runners in scoring position over 300. There's no such thing as an easy out with him. He's incredible. And to think, there were some Yankee fans that wanted Manny Machado. Thank God they signed DJ LeMahieu. He was one of their best hitters last year. He stayed healthy. That middle infield of Torres and LeMahieu is without question one of, if not the best, in all of baseball. I'll end with the bullpen. Aroldis Chapman, obviously not with the Yankees because of the coronavirus. So everyone really moved up one spot. Britton became the closer. Canely became the 8th inning guy. Chad Green went 2 innings on Sunday. And he was great. Didn't give up a hit. Only allowed 1 walk. I was a little surprised to see him go 2 innings. But obviously, he hasn't pitched at all this year. That was his first game, so he's a little fresher. Maybe a side effect of the 60-game season is that you'll see more relievers left in longer. Because their arms aren't going to be as tired. Same thing for starters. Same thing for everyone, really, now that I'm thinking about it. That's something that you could see with a 60-game season. Less games means you're not as tired. Granted, you're playing a bunch of games in a row. But I think it's a distinct possibility, now that I'm thinking about it. The late inning guys for the Yankees, guys like Ottavino, Canely, Britton, and even Green, are going to be really important in the early part of this season. I don't know how long Chapman's going to be out, but until he comes back, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny on them. There's going to be a lot of scrutiny on Britton, especially since he's closing. Fortunately for the Yankees, he has closing experience. He did it in Baltimore. I have a ton of faith in those guys. I really do. It's a huge luxury for me as a Yankee fan. There are very few teams in baseball that if they lost their closer, they really won't be set back a lot. Out of all the positions that the Yankees could have lost someone from, a reliever is probably the best one, just because they have such incredible depth there. Regular episode of the Jacob Valk Show will come your way tomorrow afternoon. I'll do another one of these Yankee shows next week. Until next time, I am Jacob Valk saying that you used to think if the score was 5-0, Willie Mays would hit a 5-run home run.